Hey, this is Jeremy from 10xyourgigs.com, and in this video I'm going to tell you how to attract a flood of gigs anytime you want. So very early on in my show business career doing stand-up comedy, I learned that in order to be successful in the entertainment business, it was entirely up to me to market and promote myself. Nobody else was going to do it for me. I started doing stand-up comedy at the age of 19 in Des Moines, Iowa, and there were virtually no performance opportunities whatsoever in Des Moines. I mean, there were 2 comedy clubs. They rarely offered open mic nights. So you had no way to get on stage and get good at what you do, and that's the catch-22 of show business. In order to get gigs, you have to be good, but in order to be good, you have to be doing gigs. So the 2 comedy clubs rarely even offered open mics, and this was the early '90s. This was when comedy clubs were shutting down. Stand-up comedy, it peaked in the 80s, and in the early 90s it started to die this slow, painful death. So I had to think outside the box. I had to get creative. I wanted to get on stage. I performed a little bit at a blues bar opening for the bands. They had an open mic night on Tuesday nights. I did a few shows at my college at their talent contest in the spring, which is actually where I put together my very first stand-up set. And other than that, there was any stage time. But I was into it. I loved doing it. I was hooked. I was addicted, and I needed to get on stage. I wanted to get on stage for no other reason than to have fun. I didn't even have like this mastermind idea in my head that I need to work a lot and book a lot of gigs in order to get good, and then the better I get, the money will come. I was just doing it for fun at that point, and it was a lot of fun. I wanted to have more. I wanted to do it more and more and more and more and more. So one night, there was a friend of mine who was a DJ at a local karaoke bar. They were having a slow night. He was like, "Hey, dude, come out here, keep me company." I stop in, and it was an okay crowd. It was decent sized, but not very many people were signing up to sing karaoke. So he's like, "Hey, why don't you get up there and do some of your comedy routine? Do like 5 minutes of your comedy routine." So I was like, "Yeah, why not? Hell with it." So he hands me the microphone. I get up there, and I didn't kill, but it was fun. I didn't bomb. I got some good laughs. I was able to work on my material, but it gave me an idea. And it led to an idea that would eventually evolve into me doing about 20 sets a week in a town with only 2 comedy clubs that didn't really offer opportunities for new performers to practice their stuff. So what I did was I found as many karaoke bars as I could, and I would go to each one. I would approach the DJ and ask them, instead of singing a song, could I do 5 minutes or so of stand-up comedy? And a few of them were like, "No, get out of here, it's not what we do." But other ones were like, "Yeah, that'd be cool. Go for it. Let's see what happens." And, some of them thought I was nuts. But the few that said yes, I took advantage of that opportunity. I went back over and over and over again, and I found the right places in front of the right crowds, and I would just keep going back week after week to these different places. Sometimes I could have 4 or 5 different karaoke bars a night, 4 or 5 nights a week. So I was doing about 20 to 25 sets a week, which in my first year of doing stand-up, that led to something like, I think it was like over 500 times getting on stage, when the usual open micer in that area was getting maybe half a dozen chances per year to get on stage. And it was slow development. But for me, I was able to speed up the process because I found this way to get in front of people, thinking outside of the box. And that's really what it takes to attract a flood of gigs anytime you want. You've got to break the status quo. You cannot just do what the industry lays out as the path for you, because that benefits the people in the industry. That benefits the bookers, the club owners, the talent agents. That is not necessarily going to benefit you. They don't have your goals as a performer. I don't care whether you're a DJ, a comedian, a musician, a ventriloquist, a juggler. You've got to do different things, thinking outside of the box, and make it happen. So that experience taught me 3 big lessons that I'd like to share with you right now. In show business, even at the open mic level, you better have a thick skin, because you're going to experience plenty of rejection. And you're going to face some pretty tough crowds. Number 2, persistence pays. The more times I got in front of those karaoke audiences, the easier it got. And eventually I either won over the crowds, or I found the right bars with the right people to work on my material in front of. Number 3, if you want to be successful in show business, it's up to you to make things happen. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You can't just sit back in obscurity expecting opportunities to come knocking. You have to take action and get attention for yourself. And that will probably require doing things that most people are either unwilling or unable to do. See, there's a lot of value in going against the grain. There's a lot of value in forging your own path and not following the herd and breaking the status quo. So I'm hitting up 4 or 5 different places a night in a town where there's hardly any opportunity for up and coming performers to practice their craft. And it was a great way for me to exponentially grow my performance level. I was able to go light years past other guys who were also just starting out, simply because I was willing to do what they weren't. And that was get in front of the tough crowds over and over again, night after night after night. Now, if you're in a big city like New York or LA, maybe doing 20 sets a week doesn't sound like that much. I don't know. I've spent a little bit of time in LA. I've spent about, did a few gigs in New York. So I don't really know what the scene is like there. And from what I heard, there's plenty of opportunity to get on stage in cities like that. Or I lived 12 years in Chicago. There are plenty of opportunities for up-and-coming performers to get on stage there. But if you're somewhere else, you got to think outside the box. And that's what really this whole podcast and video is all about. It's about giving you ideas to think outside the box, to make things happen for you, instead of waiting for people in the industry to provide you with those gig opportunities. If you want to attract a flood of gigs anytime you want, you've got to figure out and get creative how to do it and make it happen for yourself. And that's really what this website is all about. It's about giving you those tactics and tricks and skills and strategies in order to do that. You can implement them right away. Most of them are free or cheap. It just takes willingness to get out there and make it happen. Put in a little bit of work and quit waiting for the phone to ring to offer you opportunities. Quit waiting for the emails to come in, say, hey, are you available for these gigs? And you respond to that email, 20 other people, 200 other people, thousands of other people maybe responding to that same email, or hitting up one of these websites like Gig Masters or Gig Salad, and you're competing against all the other performers out there trying to do the same thing you're doing. Set yourself apart, and you virtually eliminate all of your competition that will be going for the same gigs that you're going for. And then once I felt like I was ready to start promoting myself for paid performances, you see, I had no idea what to do. There were no resources available offering that kind of direction. Most comedians I met and talked to that were making a living at it, they discouraged me from going for it. They're like, oh, comedy clubs are dying, clubs are closing down, it's too tough a business, you just go do something else, stay in college and get a degree and go into a little bit more stable a career. But that's not what I wanted to do. I stuck with it, and along the way I discovered tricks, developed methods to get my own paid gigs before I ever got hired by a comedy club. And I didn't know it at the time. I did not realize this is what I was doing at the time. I was using what's called guerrilla marketing. So even though I still pursued industry opportunities, I still went for comedy club bookings, I still tried to get listed on the roster of talent agents and bookers. I had some success with that. But if you really want to take control of your show business career, you've got to learn the business side just as much as the show side. And eventually my stand-up gigs started paying more than my part-time job, which I had to quit to make time for complete dedication towards my comedy business. Slowly but surely, with lots of mistakes, a lot of trial and error, I began to develop a gig booking system that I could turn on or off as needed. Even still, I didn't realize the power of this system and continued to chase industry opportunities, hoping to make it big time. And times even abandoning lucrative guerrilla marketing strategies and tactics in favor of image and brand marketing. That's something that we're going to talk about in future videos. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. You've got to use attention-getting stuff. That's why it's called guerrilla marketing. It's outside the box. It's not just sending something with your name and your picture and your logo and saying, hey, if you're ever in need of a comedian, give me a call. Or, hey, I'm a band looking to gig at your bar, give me a call. It's using stuff that is outside the box, attention-getting stuff, so you can talk to the right people and deliver them the right message to set you apart from everybody else they may be working with. So what happened was I went through this cycle of feast and famine, where sometimes I was able to book a lot of gigs, sometimes I was struggling for gigs, but I made the decision to start analyzing my results. And after going through that cycle over and over again, it kept me scratching my head trying to figure out why at certain times I could get more bookings than I could handle, and why at other times I practically have to beg for work. I started tracking and measuring what I did each day to acquire comedy gigs. And after years of doing that, I pretty much cracked the code on how to book as many gigs as I want. And it's by using attention-getting guerrilla marketing, having a willingness to experiment. And you can also develop a gig getting system that works without fail. So I tell you this because I assume you have an outstanding talent. I assume you want to share your talent. I assume you want to get on stage as much as possible. I'm assuming that you're really good at what you do and you want to make more money doing it. You want to build your fan base. You want to get more gigs. So, and it's good because this world needs more talented performers. We need more live entertainment. It brings joy and value to people. And if I'm assuming wrong, you're in the wrong place. And if I assume right, and you want more and better gigs, and you want to build a following, then you're in the right place. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you how to do it in future videos. And right now, what you should do is just start thinking outside the box. Make a decision to break the industry status quo. You don't always have to get perfectly formatted bios. You don't always have to have a headshot that pops. Sometimes that stuff actually hurts because everybody else has that same thing, and your stuff just gets thrown in the pile with everybody else's stuff. You got to do weird shit. Set yourself apart. So that's why I've created this website, to show struggling, talented artists and performers how to effectively use guerrilla marketing tactics to promote themselves. These are real-world, tested, and proven strategies. And most of these tactics are not going to be industry approved. Bookers and club owners aren't necessarily going to like them. If you're trying to they're going to say, oh, it's unprofessional. You need a better looking website, a website that pops. So sometimes you can use a website that just is ugly, that just has your video up there with an email box at the bottom of it that says, if you're interested, leave your email and I'll follow up with you. You don't always necessarily need to have what everybody else has, the traditional stuff. Like you said, a lot of times that can actually hurt you. That can actually prevent you from getting gigs. It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but that's what the best stuff is. The best knowledge, the best information, the stuff that you can immediately use that's effective is probably going to be counterintuitive. It's like looking out at the world. You look out at the horizon, the world looks flat. But we all know that the world is round. You can't see it. You're too close to it to understand that. But we learn in elementary school the world is round. It's counterintuitive. Like 200 years ago, people would say the world is round and they'd get burned at the stake because they were sinners. So think outside the box. Get creative. Be willing to break the status quo. Be willing to do what most people are unable or unwilling to do. Set yourself apart, and that's how you're going to book a lot of gigs. You'll always be good at performing. You've got the talent. You can do it. I work on my show all the time, but I realize I can do it. I've got the skill to make that happen. The skill that I was lacking in was marketing and business, and that's what I worked to develop. And now I want to share that stuff that I've learned with you. So your talent already exists, and you absolutely want to keep growing as a performer. However, you got to take the time to learn a few guerrilla marketing tactics, to learn some business, implement and apply those tactics and strategies. Watch your entertainment business grow exponentially. See, no one was there to help me when I first started, so I put together my decade plus of experience creating marketing funnels and systems that have kept me performing lucrative paid gigs almost 200 nights a year for the last 10 years. I want to pass this information on to you, help you take charge of your show business career. So, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this video. Share it with other people that you know might be struggling. Or maybe if you're not struggling, maybe you just want an edge over everybody else that you're competing with for gigs. You can use this information for that as well. So let me know what you think. Share this video out there. Leave a comment below. Go to 10extragigs.com. You can leave your name and email address, and I'll actually send you the 8-point blueprint I've created, a step-by-step gig booking system that never fails. 10extragigs.com. Check that out, and we'll talk soon. Thanks so much.